Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Today's episode is brought to you by RLA Polymers and Gripset. For peace of mind when waterproofing, trust Gripset's 38FC, the king of membranes. 38FC has been the industry benchmark for years and is rigorously tested internally and through certified NADA laboratories, giving you verified peace of mind. Developed alongside contractors, 38FC has confirmed coverage of 10 square metres per pale and adheres to AS 4858 and AS 4654 compliance. With a quick 1 hour recode time, you can get the job done in record speed without compromising on quality. Don't fall for the copycat products. Trust Gripset's 38FC, the king of membranes. Hey everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome back to the program. We're pretty excited to continue our theme in 2026 with new guests every time we launch the podcast. And I have an exciting guest with us today, a gentleman who I've am very close friends with and have worked alongside within the industry for many, many years, not only in Queensland but also around the country. I have the pleasure of welcoming Scott Griffiths from National Tiles joining us on the program today. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, buddy. This has been a long time in planning. I've been pestering you for some time now to come on board. And what I wanted to do today, before we sort of jump into things, is just give the audience a little bit of a background on this episode. And what I was hoping to share is really about, it's a podcast, that's got a large tiling contractor community built into it. And there's also a lot of other people, retailers, wholesalers, and manufacturers that are largely encompassed in our community. And it's always great to actually talk to the people that sit on the other side of, the installation of tiles and the people that are actually out there working with, the builders, the retailers, the commercial developers and that sort of thing, and have a look at what it takes to do what you do. So before we, so that's enough of me. And look, what we'll do is, Scott, take us back to the beginning, mate. Sort of how did you get into the tile industry and the world of sales? And I'm sure things will unfold from there.
Yeah, no, it's quite a while back now, Mark. I was actually running a taxi license with my wife when it was decided that we needed to sort of get back into the mainstream. So I actually contacted a recruitment company in Brisbane, and we sat down and they talked about, strengths and sort of what you love to do. And I said, well, look, I like talking to people, building relationships. And it led me to a company in Brisbane. The first company that I worked for was CTM. And I was there for a couple of years, and that's where obviously we met, which was great. And from there, it just led into a few different companies over a period of time. But it's funny enough, I ended back at National Tiles back in 2010. So that's 16 years ago. And I was in the Brisbane business for a lot of that time, for many, many years, before moving down to South Australia in early 2018. So, yeah, it's something that I've really enjoyed in my entire career in the tiling industry. It probably spans close into that sort of 18 or 19 years, if not a little bit longer. But significant time has now been spent at National Tiles, and that's across 2 different states, because I've been in Adelaide now for just over 8 years, so 8.5 years. So, yeah, it's been a journey. That's how it started.
Why the move? Sorry, mate, just to jump in there very quickly, why the move to Adelaide? What was the motivation behind doing that?
I was up in Queensland. Before a few other changes came in, I was the state manager for our sort of B2B, as we call it, business. And just going through some personal stuff, I decided to step down from that role. And what that led to, without me knowing, was I was then asked, while I was just a BDM, not saying just, but I mean, you know what I mean, the role changed. They asked me to come down to Adelaide because we had the business here to sort of see what was going on, how it was working or not working. And I did that. I came down over a 3-month period, a few days each month. That was in sort of late 2017. And then I literally went back after the third trip. I actually went back and I was asked by the CEO at the time, would you be interested in moving down to Adelaide to sort of run the business and sort of get it on track? And I said, well, look, I am open to it because for reasons, my brother lives here and it was really good to catch up. Obviously, I hadn't seen him for many, many years. So, and to be honest, my wife was in a role in Brisbane and she wasn't having a lot of fun. So we thought this could be the time. We had talked about it after I've been down that first and sort of second trip. I really loved the place. It was really just something different. And after that third trip, we sat down and it was decided that I would move down here. And my kids were at the perfect age where I could just move them before they got into sort of senior part of school. Yeah. So timing was perfect. And and the rest is sort of history.
It's very good, man.
Yeah,
it's good. It's awesome. Like they say a change is as good as a holiday, right? And it's a very old saying, of course. Yes. However, I'm like you. When I moved from Queensland, where it all started for me, and then moved to Melbourne, it was like a complete new life all over again. And I did that for 10 years, and that was back in 2012. And it was fantastic. Such a breath of fresh air to pick up and pack up everything that you have in your life and go to another state and start all over again. It's invigorating.
Yes, correct.
So for the community and people that may or may not know, and certainly just clarifying this here. So BDM is a business development manager. It's a very common term that's used in a lot of different industries, not just building and construction. I suppose, what does a great business development manager actually do, and particularly behind the scenes? What is it that you offering to your clients and customers?
It's, you look at that role and you sort of look at it and go, well, look, the idea of the role is to build and develop business for a company. Now, there's a lot of face-to-face sort of steps that you need to and processes that are in place, like building relationships is very, very important. What happens behind the scene is a lot of setting up sort of price structures, color schemes. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, building different levels of sort of pricing structures, different tiles within different, prices. There's a lot of business. There's a lot that goes on. You have to look at the business and really understand. What I do is I understand what the customer needs. And I ask, that's one of the initial questions. Tell me tell me how your business works. And from that, I then start to build, and you can call it behind the scenes because it's in the back of my mind, on what and how we need to move forward. So it's not just making a builder fall into a box or fall into a particular area. It's evolving our business suit their business. And that, I think, is a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And then you basically build from that point on.
Thanks for sharing. And with that, I imagine you would spend a fair portion of your role on the road, out seeing builders and clients. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I mean, it was more over the years. It has changed a little bit, and that's just the industry changing. So many years ago, when you started, I started in the industry. It was a number of certain calls a day, and in this industry, it's very important that you have that face-to-face connection with your client. As it's evolved, and we've gone through COVID, and we've gone through a few other different challenges with the industry, it becomes a lot more admin than it ever used to.
Oh, really?
meaning that you're on the computer a lot, especially in the role I'm in at the minute. I've had many different roles, but the area that I'm working at the moment, there's a lot of tenders, documents, specifications that need to happen for it to then move into the next section of what needs to happen. So, yeah, it's...
would it be fair to say that there's a lot more specification work happening today than there was 10 years ago? And it's more admin in massaging that through to acquisition versus 10 years ago, where I remember, and probably a little bit longer than 10 years ago, to be honest, I remember a guy that I used to work for when I used to work at National, and he threw a set of car keys at me and he said, all I want you to do is go out there and call on, 10 job sites a day and find the guy who buys the tiles and then get an order.
That's right.
Not going to mention any names, but if he listens to this episode, he'll know who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So help me understand. Is that what's happening today? Is that where the admin comes from?
That's correct. That's exactly bang on. And you're right what you say. Many, many years ago, that the role of the BDM was, again, keys, car, samples, away you go.
Yeah.
Go and talk to that person, go and talk to someone on that site. And as it got further along, it started to shift. So not removing that, it's still there, and there's still opportunity to do that. It just depends on job to job, sort of project to project, builder to builder.
Yeah.
In what I find in my role currently is that there's a lot that needs to happen. Interesting enough, it needs to happen away from the site. And when I say that is because you've got to go and speak to interior designers, architects to get the product specified.
Yeah.
From a commercial sense, the product needs to be specified. Once you've got that specified, it then goes out to tender, and then obviously, who is tendering will link up with the builder. Sometimes you've got to talk to the builder, but in most cases of late, you really need to just price all the contractors, and then a decision is made from the builder's point of view. Then the tiles are actually purchased through the tiling contractor. Residentially is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But commercially, again, was what I'm focused on these days, is specification, pricing, then working with the builder and the contractors to then get the tiles on site.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Well, mate, look, when we talk about what skills, there's a skill set with this sort of role like any others, right? Talk to me about what you believe separates sort of average salespeople that do this position from sort of elite performers in sort of the construction and tile industry space.
Look, there's quite a difference. And I think I go back to a comment I made earlier about building relationships. So not only do you have to start off being quite confident, you want to start confidently. You also want to have the drive. You've really, really got to want to get the business and make that connection to be able to work out exactly what's needed. And I think when you build those relationships, and it can take a little bit of time, but if you've got that specification in hand, you've got to not just sit and go, oh, well, I've done the job. You've actually got to make sure that that spec continues and is not changed, because it can happen. You need to be on top of all the contractors, and over time you get to learn and you get to meet them, and that is where the relationship really kicks in. So then they know that you're going to do the best you can for them. And the focus is from there on in. You've just got to be passionate about it. How passionate are you? It's not just I had a gentleman the other day say to me, oh, yeah, I know you want the order. And I actually said to him, and I've met him now a few times, and I said, mate, you know what? Yes, the order needs to come in, but at the end of the day, my focus is to help you finalize your selection, finalize the quantities, and get some tiles to site, because the longer we dance around it, the harder it is for me to meet your time frames. So that's what the point I'm making is, it's not all about the numbers. It's not all about the figures. It's not all about, that's great, but you've got to build that relationship and really focus on the fact that you want to help finish this, get this project off the ground and finish. Like when you get involved from a job from the very start, when you see it up and actually functioning as whatever it's apartment building, whatever it is, that's what I strive for. That's the feeling. That feeling right there is a finished, completed project on time. Everyone's happy, and I like to see that. So yes, I do like the order. Of course, that's what you work. You got to meet your budgets, right? But if you were just focused on the budget as a sole number, you almost forget to do the day-to-day.
Hearing what you're saying, and it makes perfect sense. And hopefully that transcends into our community, and they're picking up that as well. And look, I want to ask, I mean, clearly you've been doing the BDM type business role for a long time, and even when you would have held more senior roles like state manager and similar positions, you're always still selling, right? And you're always still doing a percentage of BDM work within that capacity. What today, look, and you sound like you're pretty elite at what you've been doing, and you framed perfectly before about focusing more on the relationship and focusing on the overall concept of the project versus just the numbers and just the PO and all of that sort of stuff. And that, whilst that remains a secondary objective, you're focusing on some really other important things. How many calls would you say you would do on a day now to help develop those relationships with the people that you've got touch points with?
It would be probably, if you averaged it out, it's probably anywhere from about 3 to 4 per day.
Yeah.
And why I say that, it's because you're often meeting with a designer in store, or you're dropping samples off to an office, sitting down with the architects and designers. Sometimes you've actually got on-site, even this week.
So these are actual visits, right? Yeah.
Yeah, these are actual visits. But
cool.
But but in between all of those visits, you've got emails coming in for specifications on future jobs. You've got interior designers asking, this is the concept we're going for. What are your thoughts? Can you bring in some samples that would match this? And so right back at the concept stage. So your phone's ringing. You're in front of customers, either in your own store with the designer or in their office with a group of designers with a series of samples. They've all got our samples, which initiated sort of at the start. But also there's new ranges all the time. At National Tiles, the range has increased a lot, and it's exciting. And that's what I really love about the fact that I can come up with a concept, build a relationship, come up with concepts, and see the entire project from start to finish. I think for me, that is just brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's great. Well, mate, let's talk about some of the not so fun stuff in the industry. What frustrates you most about the industry, the tile and construction game?
Look, there's probably, like everybody, there's a couple of little things that drive us around the bend. However, you've got to work around it because it is what it is.
How do you do that? How do you work around it? What's your tip and or trick to work around things that are frustrating?
I've had like us all, we've had our moments. As you get experience within the industry and doing the role, you learn that all the relationships you've built actually come into play a lot because stuff's going to go wrong. And no matter, I'm talking internal, we're talking warehousing, we're talking order support, ourselves, we make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I've made many mistakes. Number one, you have to own it. And even if you don't own it and it's not your specific fault, you take it on as the company has made an error. Or if it's the other way, which it does happen, it's the contractor has made an error, or the builder's made an error, or they've misspecified a product. Simply, to be perfectly honest, it is about taking a huge breath and stepping back and just focusing, okay, what can be done like now, and then from there, it's what's the next step? What's the next step? However many steps there are to fix the problem, you might have to reselect something, or you might have to, redirect a delivery, or you just rely on your experience. You rely on your team that you work with, quite close team, and you just, again, go to the key people, but you really need to have those relationships in place. Mm-hmm. It's very important. Relationship is very important in this industry.
Mm. Look, I think it's interesting you say that. I that's something that an ethos that I really believe in a lot, and it's been drummed into me throughout my career through many different roles that I've had with different organisations, and you and I both know, and many other people do know, that I spent a considerable time at National Tiles, not as long as others, specifically yourself. However, it's always been, from the moment that I started working in the building and construction game back in early 2003 or whatever it was always put out there on a pedestal that the relationships are what are going to help you achieve, success in whatever you do. So from the very beginning, and even back in those days, we were both working in sort of that retail land / tile contractor space, but the relationships that we developed with the contractors that came in were some of the best friendships that I had ever developed at that particular time, and still keep in touch with some of those guys. And they were the ones where we were able to sell more square meters of tiles because we had an end-to-end solution with a very credible, reliable, and quality-driven contractor that would put down 100 square meters every few days with his crew. So look, it makes perfect sense. And whilst there are other parameters around things that form the I suppose the cake mix of being successful, relationships definitely is at the forefront of that mix and how it all works. Because without them, you can go and see 15 people a day. If you're not a likable person and you don't have the relationships established, people won't give you an order. People won't give you their time, particularly in 2026. You have to have those relationships, otherwise the rest of it just doesn't work.
The thing is with those relationships, and this stems back to a question earlier on about, as you said, how many visits are you doing a day? Mm. There are people in the industry even now that are doing anywhere from 8 to 10 visits a day. Now, obviously, it's a different, depending on the industry and the product. Obviously, there's some that will need more, and there's others that. How I look at it and go, I could easily go and see 8 to 10 people a day. However, I'm not being very effective. I'm not being effective at all, because the question has to be, what are you talking to those 8 to 10 people? Are you spending enough time? Are you asking the right questions? There's a lot that needs to be asked in that. Now, I think for a BDM to have 3 to 4 on average a day, say 3 to 5 a day, those 3 to 5 catch-ups need to be significant. They need to be you need to be discussing all the points about the job. You need to be finding out a lot more about what other jobs are coming up. If you're going and saying 8 to 10 and you're just ticking a box, it's not the industry for you. You need to be involved. You need to ask questions. You need to, again, be confident in asking the questions of, you've got this job and you've got this project, or what else is coming up? What else can I help you with? From a specification point of view, they want to see 1 or 2 tiles in a meeting. I don't leave that meeting and going, well, thanks for seeing me and let me know if you need anything else. It's like, well, what else have you got on? Yeah, where can I help you? Is there another job that I can? And there's a number of designers in each office, and especially when they come to our showroom, I never let them leave without taking them around and showing them all the newer stuff, because they may not have seen it. So you've got to spend time with people, and I really believe that 8 to 10 is way too much. That if you have that sort of 3 to 5, they're very powerful meetings, and you achieve a lot more.
Agreed. A quick word from our sponsor. Partner with GroupSet and become one of Australia's leading waterproofers. Waterproofing is one of the most in-demand trades, With Gripset's accredited practitioner program, GAP, you'll be trained and certified in just 3 days. Backed by Australia's leading waterproofing supplies manufacturer and run by trainers with over 20 years of experience in the industry, GAP gives you a wealth of knowledge. Learn how to identify and prevent dampness and water damage in both residential and commercial structures by exploring the current Australian waterproofing standards, correct preparation of substrates for waterproofing, and how to apply both sheet and liquid membranes with a particular focus on the trickier areas such as joints and penetrations. Upon completion, you will be a fully accredited GAP applicator and will be able to access exclusive benefits and free business advertising to expand your clientele. Spots are filling up fast. Upskill today, visit gripset.com/gap. That's gripset.com/gap, where great applicators get even better. Well, mate, let's change gears a little bit. We talking about the industry as a whole, and I'm sure you've seen some pretty dramatic change over the years. Is there anything that stands out most to you that has developed?
Look, I think the service levels, I think a lot of companies have stepped it up in their service. There's a lot of companies that I can definitely
Your
know
competitors.
of, that I think the service level has completely dropped. And that's not feedback that I'm just, making up or assuming. That is feedback that I'm receiving from people within the industry that I see.
Yep. That'd be namely new customers that you're acquiring because of that said.
Well, yes, as well as other designers and architectural firms that I've dealt with, and they all don't just solely deal with me, because I may not have what they need for that particular job.
100%.
However, when they ask you to come in and see them or bring samples or look at a concept, if you don't jump on that and you don't have the relationship, they will just push you aside and go to the next person. Mm. So you've got to be quite proactive in a sense of being proactive is just building that relationship so that they know that when they come to you, they're going to get what they need from you. And if I can't help them, I don't string them along. I tell them straight up, we don't have a product like that. I've got other options that I could probably source in, but it'll come down to time, basically. Time is probably the biggest thing. The time seems to be, back to your initial question, time between specification and needing tiles on site has shortened quite significantly. And I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure on how that's come about. It just seems everybody's in a rush. So within reason, because National Tiles is quite a large player in the business, in the industry, we have a lot of stock. And if we haven't got it in, say, Adelaide, we've got it in Victoria.
Yeah, nice.
And, so yeah.
Yeah, and there's been, look, I look at it from the sidelines, but it's because I'm so closely connected into the industry, I can see that there's a lot of investment happening in National Tiles with new warehouses and expansions and new franchisees and new programs. So yeah, look, I can envisage that, there's, if it's not, obviously you've got a lot of stock readily available on the ground in these warehouses. So not so much a cash and carry concept. Those days are gone, but you've got it there, and you're not so reliant on stock arriving from overseas. So there's not a,
that's right.
Well, you are, but not, not all the time, depending on the popularity of particular lines and things like that. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, nice. Well, mate, obviously you've probably worked with a lot of people. Well, I shouldn't say probably. You have worked with a lot of people over the years. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, what do you think some of the biggest mistakes that young sales reps make when they're sort of entering in this industry?
Well, they come in and they're full of energy and they're confident, which is what you need, but they're not willing. They just seem to be not willing to put in the hours to actually learn about the products. We have training sessions, we have training documents, we have all sorts of stuff at hand for these young guys. But I think they
Guys
just
and
take
girls.
it.
Just
Like
be
guys and girls, yes,
guys and girls.
correct. Thank you. Yes, very true. Very true. Some of our most successful sales reps are females, and that's fantastic. So I've learned a lot from them. In fact, I was actually trained by a young lady, and she was fantastic. And I'll always remember the training that I got from her. So,
yeah, wonderful.
but you've got to just take a step back and learn from the more experienced people. Take the time to actually learn from them. Take the the rally wheels off just a little bit. Slow down and actually you want to learn properly first. You don't want to just come in, go full ball. You sort of almost like it's an overconfident thing, and then end up going, well, this is not working out because of this, this, and this. So they end up not working out, and then they move away from the business or from the industry. But they also come in wanting the big paycheck straight away. It's like you've got to earn your stripes and you've got to hit your budgets. It's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty common theme with a lot of organisations, particularly in 2026. I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate a whole bunch of information and podcast episodes and things that I've watched about generations from where you and I sit versus people that are just entering the market now that are of the young generations below us. There is obviously clearly a theme in younger generations wanting the title of a CEO and the six-figure pay salary bracket immediately the moment they enter a business, and they may only have maybe 12 months or more experience in the game with very few relationships and have a long way to prove themselves. And it seems that they haven't acquired the patience yet to earn those additional bonuses or pay slips. Yeah. So I get it.
Yep.
And it's just something that it's there. And I think, patience is obviously a very good virtue to have and to learn. No, not everyone always has it. Is there one tip that you would give someone who is looking at roles like this? What would you say to them? Like if you were interviewing somebody and you could see the fact that they had a lot of confidence and they were a go-getter and they were jumping out of their seat to have a go at it. What's the one bit of advice that you would give them to help them stay longer than the average?
Just to be honest, and I've met many in my time, you've just got to be willing to listen, because they come in thinking that they know everything, and I can assure you they don't. But they're very confident. As I said, you can be confident and then you can be overconfident. So I think the tip is just take a step back and really focus on listening to your, senior or more experienced people in the industry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, let's, again, keep changing gears here because we're talking about some really good stuff. And I hope the community is getting some really good takeaways from this. And this is very much around, again, just to repeat what I said earlier, having a look at what it takes to be a BDM or a business development manager in a position and work selling the tiles into the industry. And why is that so important to have this conversation today is because, Australia is still importing close to 36 million square metres of tiles into this country every year. It's a considerable number in the sort of tile and flooring market. And inside of that flooring market, we have obviously other products as well that are not tile, but it's a big, big industry. And look, it's I was doing some research yesterday, and statistically speaking, from the research that I did, it's building towards an $8 billion market in this coming financial year. I mean, that's a lot of dollars in the tiling and construction space, and it's a finishing trade, so it has a lot of energy around not only the efficiency of putting it down correctly in accordance to the Australian standards, but it's the look and feel of everything that people look at when they live in a home or an office space or a shop fit out or a commercial space, like whatever it might be. Mate, look, tell me, what's something about the tile industry that the average person would never understand unless they worked in it?
The tiles are very heavy. and not just tiles. I mean, obviously,
And getting heavier.
And bigger. It's quite it's infectious. It's infectious because you've got multiple tile ranges. You're talking different colors, finishes, patterns, sizes, and they're getting like big. I mean, we're getting meter by meters and 1200 by 1200s, and and there's getting bigger with panels, and there's all sorts of products coming into the market. But I think people have got to really, something to understand is that the product, it is hard to move around, and the logistics behind moving a pallet of tiles is very different to moving a pallet of shirts, pants. Like, it's the industry, there's a lot of safety around our warehousing and around our buildings, even our showrooms, retail showrooms. The product is very heavy and it can be dangerous. So you need to really, again, listen and follow instructions in and around the industry, the tiling industry. But not only just the tiles, we're moving into stone quite significantly now. So National Tiles is more than just the tiles now. It's tiles, flooring, and stone. So we're doing all sorts of products. So yes, the tiles are heavy and people need to sort of maybe don't understand that. We've got engineered timber. We've got lots of laminate. We've got hybrids. We've got vinyl. And then again, we're moving into that stone space. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of, again, heavy products that people need to understand that it can be dangerous. So,
yeah, wow. No, cool, man. That's awesome. Well, look, Scott, from your years working closely with builder suppliers, clients, what would you say the most successful tiling contractors do differently that instantly makes them stand out to win more work?
Again, it's their relationship with the builders in the industry. Some of these companies have been around a very long time. Some of them have got very large teams.
Yep.
So they're able to do quite a number of different sort of type jobs, but again, the pricing, I mean, obviously they can, if they're very competitive, they want to price very hard. But again, I think it's relationship. I mean, if you think about it, a number of contractors will say to me, "Oh, look, I've just got word that I'm looking, pretty confident on getting this particular job." And I'll say, "Okay, that's really exciting and great. Like, how do you know?" "Oh, I just know a guy. I know that one of the guys there, and he's, So the point is that the ones that are doing the job correctly or winning the most work are the guys who have built that relationship. And I think having that relationship and having their type of the type of service and their finished product is obviously very, very important. And I think, if you go through the steps, relationship, the finish, as well as being competitive, I think that's puts them in a very good position.
An extension to that, I think it's a very different market today as well in 2026. It's probably been like this for a number of years now, where there's an over demand. Well, it's probably been like this for some time. There's an over demand of work that needs to be completed, but an undersupply of contractors that can do the work. So that has been evident for some time, and it's gone in ebbs and flows. But I think as the generations start to change, we're seeing less people pick up the tools, and whether that be tiling, electrical, plastering, painting, brickwork, whatever, there's less younger people coming into the trade. And so when you've got an undersupply of people and an oversupply of work, I imagine that, the contractors can hold their prices firm, in a lot of cases, not always, but I think they can hold their prices firm. And I've heard, some really good stories out there about how, the level or I would say the level of tiling rates has increased over the years, and this is just generally speaking. I'm not saying that that's happening in every case, because there are stories out there where in some areas people are, still significantly reducing price per square metre, and it's making it very difficult for work to be won. But yeah, so it's I mean, again, like as you say, it comes back to relationships. The relationships they have with, I would say, more than likely people like yourself, the relationships they have with builders and developers, the relationships they have with designers and architects. So they're definitely a part of that mix of crew that, if you have your relationships well established, you're more than likely to have a pipeline of work this year, next year, the year after,
Correct. Yeah.
Year in, year out. And look, it's interesting when you see online occasionally, and I'm not going to deep dive into what the groups are and everything like that, but there are a number of people now putting their hand up who are tiling contractors around the country saying, I don't have any work. Has anybody got some work here, or has someone got some work there? Yeah. And sometimes I look at that and go, I wonder how strong that person's relationships have been that they have developed versus someone who isn't putting their hand up going, I need work. Now, I know there's going to be some isolated cases. I get that. Yeah. But generally speaking, if you have a very strong network, it's like you can be indestructible. If you have the right team around you, it's like personal development. If you have your right team around you, you are pretty much, you can achieve anything that your heart desires. If you haven't got that team around you, well, then it gets a lot harder.
Yeah, agree.
Sorry, mate. There was a little bit of my ramble there, but anyway.
Bang on, but yeah. Yep.
So, look, tell me, you don't always win everything, and no one ever does. What's your approach to handling rejection, difficult clients, or lost projects? What's your process, mate? How do you do it?
Look, at the end of the day, you, as you said, you can't have everything. All right. So if you go into these types of projects thinking or wanting, I suppose to a degree, we all want to win everything we get. That's part of the fun, part of the drive and excitement. But at the end of the day, especially in Adelaide, there's probably about, to be honest, there's probably three, and I'm sort of lucky, I suppose, to a degree in Adelaide. There's only about 3 or 4 tiling BDMs on the ground. And in such a tight-knit sort of state, we run into each other.
Okay, yep.
You get to know each other a little bit. And at the end of the day, it's you lose one there, but you gain one here. Do you know what I mean? I look at it and go, look, it is what it is. The decision's been made, whether it's the client that's made the final decision or they've completely changed their scope, or the builder's found that he's got the exact right product or whatever it might be. It is what it is. I think you've just got to go, you have no control over it. When it gets to that point, it's totally out of your control. If it was in your control, it'd be a different story. But when it gets to that point, something has happened or whatever the case may be, it's generally a change of mind, or, they've decided to go down a different path or replace it with a different product. You've just got to get on with it. You've just got to go, it is what it is, because the longer you ponder on that, the more you're going to miss the next opportunity. So, and I think your reaction to that leaves a mark on that contractor or builder. So if you turn into a selfish child that carries on and gets, takes it a little bit too far, well, then they're going to go, well, this guy's not professional enough. Guy or girl, it's not professional enough. So basically, you're closing the door on yourself, because they're not going to come back to you because of that last reaction. So you've just got to take it on the chin, accept what it is, and just move on. Because they said you can't sit around crying about it. You need to move on.
Yeah, and I think you've said that really poetically, because I think if we look at it at the end of the day, there is a multitude of tile importers. There is a local tile manufacturer in Australia. Yep. There is only so many colours in the rainbow, and only so many size tiles that you can get your hands on. So clearly there's going to be a lot of crossover in terms of style, design, thickness, size, and then we get to price. Yep. So, classic example, 300 by 600 white rectified wall tiles. I'm not sure if they're still a thing. I'm pretty sure that they probably are in most major or mid-sized domestic builder portfolios. But I think there's probably most tiling importers are bringing in some version of a white tile from somewhere around the world. And I can't imagine there'd be much difference in price.
No, and I don't think there is. It's just a matter of, it's obviously, again, it's one of the fastest moving products. Most, the largest amount that's being purchased right now. And when we've got a couple, to be honest, and it comes down to that look, comes down to, a crisp white versus a sort of a more sort of softer white, or do you know what I mean? It's again,
and speed and relationships and
relationships,
service.
It's funny when we say, people say, "Oh, what's the most?" I was asked this question a very long time ago by a very an amazing man, and I'll always remember it because we sat down and he said, give me the three most important things in the industry. The first one would be the third, second, and first. And he said, I've asked every other sales rep the same question. And the question was, what's the order? What's more important? And I actually flipped it. I actually said, right, one being the most important, 2, 3. So number one for me is relationship. Number 2 is service. And number 3, as in the third important one in the top 3, is price. Now, people might look at that and will hear that and go, price is very important. Yes, it is. I said, but I can tell you now, if you're getting a super duper price, but you haven't got the service to back it up or the relationship in place, you might get lucky on 1 or 2 hits, but you're not going to get that business long term. You're not going to build that structure. You're not going to build that relationship with that company, whether it be a builder, a contractor, even an architectural, a designer. It's all about that building that relationship, getting your service right, and the price comes in third. And again, people just go, what does that mean? That means that you've got to do it in that order, and that's how I've always done it. I can tell you right now, I'm not the cheapest in the market, but people know when they come to National Tiles, they're going to get that service, and they're going to have that relationship. We build relationships, we service our customers, and the price becomes sort of a distant third. I mean, we've got to be competitive, and we are, especially in the commercial space. We're very competitive because we know that it's a competitive market, and the margins that we used to get are no longer in the industry. They've changed, and within reason, you've got to know where your limit is and where you can play, and again, you want to build on that. And what comes into play, you may not be the cheapest, but you have that relationship, and that relationship is strong. And then that service that's followed by the service that we offer brings it all home. And that's what I'd like to be remembered for, is the guy that built relationships.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Scott. Well, look, let's wrap it up there with just one final question today. After all these years, mate, what still gets you excited to get up every morning, wake up and do it all again tomorrow? What is it?
There's a couple of things. Over the years, you work with different people in different teams. And I think apart from building those relationships, which is very, very important to me, giving the right service, and again, that pricing, I love the fight with the price. I love the opportunity to play. However, the thing that gets me out of bed, apart from my customers and building those fresh relationships, is the people you work with. Like, you have to be able to work with the people that are around you, your initial team, and obviously different sections of the business. You really need to have that. And again, I say the word again, relationship. Here at National Tiles in Adelaide, there's 3 of us in our B2B business, 2 in resi, and one of those being the state manager, and myself in commercial and architectural. The 3 of us work together. It's almost like we're the yin, yang, and yang. We're so different in the sense of we're all very different. Let's just put it that way. But yet we come together and we just it just works. And I love that. I think, people are very important. They get me out of bed, whether it's the people I work with or the people that I talk to and come up with solutions. It's a lot revolves around people.
Mate, it's really well said, and I share those thoughts and sentiments with you as well. People do definitely make going to work every day a great experience, and you can thrive with people in those environments, and you can also share the lows as well, and get through sort of celebrate the great times and share in the times that aren't so great, which happens occasionally. Hopefully fewer of those moments, but you learn from your mistakes and you learn from the shit stuff that happens in life, and that's great, because if we're not learning, we're not moving forward. That's for sure.
That's right.
So, mate, look, I appreciate your time. You've been a champion. I have to say that you're a very calm, mature, obviously well experienced BDM, and mate, I think obviously National Tiles is very lucky to have you working in their business, and so good on you. Now, look, we do like to put in the show notes how people can connect in with you. But mate, what are you? I know you're not as socially media operated as some of our past guests, but if someone wanted to get in touch with you and grab a coffee or just pick your brains and have a chat about how you do things, or just connect in with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, there's two ways. I mean, basically either give me a buzz, my phone's always on, or send me an email, and I jump on my emails. Like, I'm very active. I keep ahead of the game because, again, if I don't jump on it, somebody else will. So, yeah, by all means, phone, email. I mean, I do have a LinkedIn account. Happy to share that, of course.
Cool. Yeah, I'll put your work email and your LinkedIn contact details in the show notes so that if someone wants to reach out and have a chat to the master of South Australia, they can. and have a bit more of a chat with you and pick your brains, mate, because this is what Tiling Connect is all about. It's about connecting great people in the industry that have given it a hell of a lot of their time and built amazing careers and love the people and love the game and love what we do. So once again, mate, thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me on. It's great.
Oh, mate, you're bloody welcome. And as we say on every episode, until next time, stay connected.
No, thank you for having me on, Mark. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.